So South Africa has a tougher group because they have Egypt in their group, and we know South Africa did
Wow.
well in the Nations Cup, and they
Yeah.
beat Morocco. So we know that on any day South Africa can beat Morocco. But the question is, it's
Hmm.
still going to be a tough match if they meet. Oh, I mean, they can beat Egypt. If they can beat Morocco, they can beat Egypt. But
Mhm.
Egypt are the favorites to win that group because they have Salah. I think it's I think it's premature to call Egypt the favorites, but I will say they have a very good, probably in terms of raw talent, they have more talented players than South Africa. But South Africa probably has a better team coordination, so
And
it's
the
going to be a
technique.
tough match for South Africa. But to me, it's going to be tough. Either South Africa will draw, win, or lose. Seriously, draw, win, or lose. But whatever the result is, it's going to be a close game. Other than that,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought what are the other teams in the group?
Well, the way the other teams in the
What?
Egyptian group, Egypt, South Africa, Angola, and Zimbabwe. Egypt, South
Oh
Africa,
yeah, this is a
Angola.
tough group for South Africa. South Africa should qualify first or second, but here's the problem: they tend to struggle against Zimbabwe also.
Mhm.
So we can imagine a situation in which they draw with Zimbabwe. Then that means that they have to at least draw with Egypt or beat Egypt. I don't think Zimbabwe can qualify. Zimbabwe is going to lose to Egypt. But here, what if
The
Zimbabwe?
whooping boys.
But if Zimbabwe beats Angola and draws with South Africa and then loses
Hmm.
with
4 points.
loses to Egypt, so then South Africa will have to most. I don't see Zimbabwe beating South Africa. If South Africa draws with Zimbabwe, then they have to make sure they beat Angola, and Angola is not easy to. So all I'm saying is that South Africa on paper should come first or second, but this is a very tricky group for them. What do you think, TK? Yeah,
Yeah, I agree with you guys. This group, the kryptonite, as the poison of this group can be Zimbabwe, especially towards South
Zimbabwe.
Africa. The last encounters for South Africa against Zimbabwe, they played 8 games. South Africa won four, drew two, and lost two. So it's very close. But the one that can be a shocker is in Egypt, because South Africa faced Egypt 3 times since 2016, and they
Yeah.
won all 3 games. You can remember the 2019 AFCON where they
Oh yeah.
did a shocker, won the game in the last minute with a goal from launch. So it's gonna be, the Egypt game is gonna be more of a tactical game where who's gonna be
Yeah.
patient, who's gonna be more patient.
Yeah,
Because I feel like South
yeah.
Africa are gonna let Egypt have the ball, and they're gonna use their wingers to just counter attack them every time.
Counter attack. Yeah.
Yeah, because so Africa should be careful because I know sometimes they like to use a high press sometimes, but they have to be
Mm.
careful on that because I mean not happens, but they like to like counter press. So, but they're going to have to be careful against Egypt because Egypt could be explosive, especially with Salah. I think so. TK, what you're saying is that they should be more patient with their. I know they have a patient builder, but you're trying to say that they should wait to
What
spring
I'm
the
saying
kind
for what I'm saying against the Egypt game, it's gonna be a game where I feel like Hugo Bros should just use the tactic of let Egypt have the ball. We'll
yeah,
suffer.
yeah.
Let's
And
suffer
wait for them to come.
without the
Don't
ball.
press
Then
them.
we
Yeah,
use it. Because if
yeah,
you have the ball, South Africa attacks with their fullbacks. And when you
yeah,
attack with
Mm.
your fullbacks, you're gonna give us if you give a Salah a chance behind your defense, you are gonna be in
Hmm.
trouble. So
You
they should
punish.
let Egypt have the ball and they
yeah.
just
It's going to
counter
be a very
press.
tactical match. And what
Mm.
about how are they going to beat Zimbabwe when Zimbabwe parks the bus?
When they're gonna beat, the
Jose Mourinho.
They'll
you
park the bus.
know, I feel like at the time, as the coach, I forgot the name, the Zimbabwean coach, he said he's building his team for the AFCON. So I just hope that Zimbabwe is gonna go
Mm.
there and actually play football. But if they don't play football, the coach can just, use a few tricks. So okay, this is see if the whole team is like inside the 16-yard area, what you just do is just switch the ball, pass, switch the way they scored their second goal. If I'm not mistaken, their second goal against Rwanda, the same thing happened. Almost everyone was gathered in the box. You just
Yeah.
those few
Group,
extra touches,
group
and
football,
you
group attack, group defense. Yeah.
group defense, group attack. Because then you're gonna because
Everything.
Not even mass. I'm not even calling it mass. Like it's about because it's already with dancing, clapping. We'll
they're
come.
gonna park the bus. We all know that Zimbabwe is gonna go there and park the
Mhm.
bus.
TK,
But
maybe
then
you
it's
know what
gonna
I mean by this joke. Maybe the coach for Zimbabwe before the match, you'll feed them sadza. You know sadza.
what's
Sadza is
that?
like pap.
Pap, or They obviously they're gonna feed them something. They're gonna be strong. They're strong, those boys.
They even have a a Sangoma, or as in Nigeria we call it Babalawo. They have their experience. But yeah,
Exactly. They're
but that's what's
neighbors. They,
happening.
they,
That's
they
gonna be
know each other's tricks. They know
I
each
think
other's tricks. They're neighbors.
I think if I were South Africa, I would focus. I mean, I know they have to focus on trying to beat Tunisia, but they have to try to make sure they beat Zimbabwe and Angola. If they do that, then they know they're going to come at least second place. They don't want it,
And
but
you
I
know,
don't think. Yeah, go ahead, TK.
yeah, and you know what's the funny thing about this group? The last game for South Africa is against Zimbabwe.
This is
So
crazy.
they have to do the business. They have to do
Another
the
pressure
business
match
against Egypt.
Who is South Africa playing first? Who is South Africa playing first?
They're playing Angola. They're playing
Okay, so
Angola
let's talk
first.
about that.
Okay, better for them.
Okay, we'll talk about the Angola match first quickly, but let's go to Warif. Any general thoughts on the group?
Thank God, what's it called? South Africa are not playing Egypt first, because the Egypt South African game will determine who will win the league, who will come out first in that group. So I think it's a good one. I know Egypt and South Africa don't want to win their first.
He's breaking a little bit.
That's okay.
Worry if you're breaking. Worry. I'm going to go to Afolabi. Try to change.
Can you hear me now? Okay, let me change that position.
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead. Yeah, change it, then we'll come back to you. What are your thoughts, Mr. Afolabi?
Yeah, I think Egypt is. I feel they are the favorites here because, I mean, in terms of experience, they've won the AFCON 7 times. They have the record in Africa, and they usually play very organized and cohesive. And they know they have a striker that they can depend on and a very good finisher in Mo Salah. At his age, he's still very fast, and if you give him the right service, he will finish the ball very well. One of the best left-footed wide forwards in the world. And they also have Omar Mamouche, who came from Frankfurt to Man City.
Oh, I forgot about him.
Who is also a very decent player. So the way Egypt play, they have maybe 2 or 3 star players, and they try to build the team around the star players. But I feel South Africa would go through. South Africa is organized. They have a mixture of youth and experience. If they get the balance right, they will qualify here along with Egypt. I have faith that South Africa will qualify from this group. Apart from, I don't think Angola or Zimbabwe could go from here. But never rule out Angola as dark horses. They seem to have
Angola has a tough defense, and they did well in 2023. They have a tough defense.
Sure.
So, you know what might happen? I'm just saying the truth. If South Africa's, I'm not saying that this is what will happen, but South Africa has to be aware that they could easily draw with Angola and Zimbabwe. And if they draw with Angola and Zimbabwe, that's only 2 points. And if they lose to Egypt, that's only 2. But they have to be careful, because if they draw with Zimbabwe and Angola, and then Angola beats Zimbabwe, then Angola becomes dangerous. And Angola would have 3 points. So South Africa they need to win one of their 2 matches between Angola and Zimbabwe.
They need to beat Angola and Zimbabwe.
And they can usually do it, but sometimes this is Africa. It's easy to draw. But we'll get back. We'll talk about that later. Absolutely. What are your thoughts on Mr. Warif? Yeah.
Okay. For South Africa and what's it called, the Egyptians, they need to win their first 2 matches. By the time both of them meet, that match they might want to play, because whoever that wins between South Africa and Egypt, that means the person might have 6 points. So I think that's going to be a tough one. They wouldn't want to lose their first game. They might win their first game, and maybe the last game. Maybe South Africa and Egypt might go settle for a draw. But I know that game is not going to settle for a draw. It's going to be a tough one, like a final before the finals, the group stage. So it's going to be highly tactical. So I think that's one of the games we need to watch out for: South Africa versus Tunisia.
Yeah, I agree. That's a tough match. But I'm going to counter you a little bit, Warif, in that I'm going to say that that's going to be the match of the group. But I think that the games that South Africa needs to really focus on is to make sure they beat Angola. But I know the star matchup is Egypt versus South Africa. But if South Africa can beat Angola and Zimbabwe, even if they can relax and play open football against Egypt without having to worry. You understand what I'm saying? But you're right. That's going to be the match. What are your thoughts, TK? What's the match? Is it going to be Egypt, South Africa, Angola, Zimbabwe?
Topping the group.
Go ahead. What did you say, Mr. Warif? Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to say, the Angolans, they are just like Americans. They are so determined, even in basketball. Angolans, they always give Nigeria a tough time when it comes to basketball. So they have that self-belief in their team. So I think it's going to be a tough one for either the Egyptians or the South Africans.
They made it to the knockout rounds in 2023, right? I think they did. Yeah, they were good, but most of their games were close, draws or win by 1 goal. What were you gonna say, TK?
Yeah, what I was gonna say is that the Angola match, it's gonna be the match that sets the tone for South Africa in this group.
Yeah.
In this group, because if you get a result, and with Angola, the first match is supposed to be a win. We all know this in qualifiers. I mean, in the group stage matches, your first win sets the tone and can give you the confidence, because then you don't have to,
advantage.